What's up, guys? Welcome back in to this week's episode of Kinda OP Weekly Game Talk. I'm Jeff.
I'm Chris.
This week, we are going to cover our top 5 personal favorite video game consoles. We're going to list what game we think is the best game for that console, and then we're going to if it differs, we're going to tell you what our personal favorite game for that console is. Before we get into that, what's going on?
Nothing much. I think most recent news is the new Harry Potter trailer dropped.
Yep.
I would consider myself a huge Harry Potter fan. I have all the books. I've read every book but the last one. I always start them from the beginning, and I get kind of winded down by the time I reach the last one. So It's kind of hard for me to sit down and finish all of them. But loved all the movies. I love the cast from the old ones. But new trailer came out. What was your first reaction?
I'm a much more casual Harry Potter fan. I love the movies. I've only read one book, seen every movie, so I'm not going to claim to be up there with the likes of you and some of the other super fans. I thought it was good. It's a good take, turning it into a show. I don't know how this decade-long, series is going to run. We had a brief talk about it before, and we mentioned that the amount of time it's going to take to film, it's not going to be 10 years. It can't be 10 years. We're probably looking at like 15 years before it's all said and done. And the fact that it starts, I believe, this Christmas.
I believe so. Holiday season.
Yeah. Probably. So, I mean, you're looking at 10 to 15 years before it finishes. So, I mean, for the fans, this is huge. It gives them something to look forward to for the next 10 to 15 years.
Yep. And I think they originally wanted to do one season every year, but I think they already said with how much production needs to go into each one, it's just not going to be every year. It's probably going to be every 2 years.
Right.
So 7 books each season. I think is one book. This is Harry Potter, the Philosopher's Stone. So, we got 6 more after this. And so we're probably looking at about 15 years.
Yep.
My first thoughts, the very first thing I thought when it came on is, wow, this is a little bit darker.
Yeah.
I remember the first Philosopher's Stone and Chamber of Secrets were both directed by Christopher Columbus, I believe. And they were much more lighthearted. Those first couple books had some serious elements to it, but it was all lighthearted. And you could really tell the difference from going to Chamber of Secrets to Prisoner of Azkaban, the third movie. It turns way darker, but it kind of looks like they're starting with that at this one. So that's going to be interesting because I think those first 2 movies really captured the children. And like I was a child myself watching them. So I was like, oh, what is this? Magic? A world with trolls and wizards? Like it captured me a lot. So going darker will be interesting. Another big thing is casting. Obviously the 3 youngest ones are young. So I know everybody wants to be very gentle with them and everything and don't ruin children just because, you don't like casting or anything. My only thing about casting, which I see a few people brought up, is Sirius Snape.
Mm-hmm.
My only gripe is there are certain elements in the books where he gets bullied as a younger kid, and I don't know how they're going to translate that with the ethnic change that they decided to do.
Yeah.
Not to go into too much detail, but, Snape did get bullied for having greasy hair as a kid and everything. Yeah. So I don't know how they're going to do that.
Yeah.
No other character in the books has that type of backstory. So they literally could have done that with anybody else. Yeah. But that was one of the first things that I thought of when they decided to do that.
Right.
I don't know if you feel the same way or you thought about the same way. I know you don't really read the books, but
yeah, I do think that it's a great change to see people get casted based on their talents and not their appearance. We've seen it in so many different things. I think the first one that I remember of was probably Kingpin in the old Daredevil movie, and I was like, this isn't, and then it works out well, and we've seen it in multiple other things. I just think that sometimes when there are things that don't line up in stories based on that kind of is when, the criticism kind of takes place. Yeah. We've talked about it even with the Dark Tower stuff. Yeah. Like in the books, Stephen King made these characters a certain race, and they went through things in the book that were very race specific. And then when the movie came out, they swapped that. And then in your mind, you're just wondering, like, I wonder how far down the line they thought when they did this, because it could confuse and muddle the storyline a little bit. So,
yeah. And speaking to that, I'm not too familiar with Dark Towers, but the main character, Idris Elba's character in the movie, in the books is white.
correct.
And he does this kind of time travel thing, right? I'm only going off of what my brother explained to me. And he goes back to the Jim Crow era.
Yeah.
And in the books, it's a white man going back to the Jim Crow era, having to convince a black female that, hey, I'm here to help you or something. And she's so not willing to trust him because of his race, because of the time. But that is different now, because obviously Idris Elba is a black male, and he's going back, so it's a little bit easier, right?
Yeah. It definitely threw everything off. So I have a good feeling about this. I feel like everything's going to play out well, and we're probably going to love the character. And maybe that's something that they leave out. Maybe they'll spin it and make it a little bit different, so it's less aggressive and things like that. But
and I'm with you. Talent beats certain things, and it's easy for them just to leave it out. But again, you're going to have those people where it's like, oh, we thought this was going to be a truer adaptation from the books. We want everything. A person I'm really excited to see is Peeves, the poltergeist, who wasn't in the original movies, but he was such a beloved character in the books. So it's an easy thing to overlook if they choose to do that. And I'm just eager to see what they do with it. I'm more excited than anything. One quick other note I had was John Lithgow.
Yep.
I don't know if you know, he's the new Albus Dumbledore.
I know that.
Yeah, and my only concern with that is I love John Lithgow, but there are some physical stuff that I remember from Albus. There are some battles that happen with Albus in the originals. And speaking of Lithgow's age, I'm wondering if he's still able to, pull all this off. Right. Obviously, you can have stunt doubles and everything, but you don't want to make a character look a little too in age, you know, and think like, is this believable? Can he actually do all this?
Yep.
So that it'll all be interesting. But I think besides those other ones, my bigger concern is just how dark it looks. I don't want it to be super dark to where it's like, wow, this is very dour and like not the exciting, bright movies that I remember. But so yeah, that's the Harry Potter take. Interested to see other trailers and more information. Another quick thing, I don't know if you saw it, their emblems are also changed a little bit for their houses. They're like tree branches and stuff. I think they showed the Hufflepuff one, which was like an H. So that's going to be interesting to see, like just little minor changes like that. So
someone who's casual like me, a casual fan, like we're going to admire stuff like that. And then the more diehard fans are going to be the ones that are going to, oh, this isn't what we wanted. This is how it goes. But I'm sure everybody will grow and adapt, and I think it's going to do very well.
Yep. Interested to see it. Next up, Starfield. I know you said you weren't too familiar with this.
Yeah, I'm not.
The Bethesda games, Fallout and all that. Yeah. So Starfield was their exclusive for Xbox. I think that was their like ace in the hole. Came out, mixed reviews. I think it landed more so around the 7s, which, 7 is a good game either way.
Right.
But it's coming to the PS5, so we just wanted to bring that up. It's coming April 7th. So it looked like a game that looked pretty fun to me. You have so many different planets to visit, and, imagine Fallout, but in space, basically. Yep. So that's exciting. Something you think you would look forward to, or
maybe? I mean, the backlog is kind of full. Pokemon Vacopia is kind of taking over my life at the moment. So I haven't been able to really pull away and, do anything else. That's kind of where, I'm rebuilding these islands. They need me there. So it's kind of hard to pull myself away.
Yeah, maybe we can test our editing skills and put up your Professor Oak's. He's recreated Professor Oak's lab from Leaf Green and everything. So it looks amazing. Yeah. So, and last thing from this rambler before I pass it off more on to you, just something I wanted to bring up real quick. A little nerd nugget in there for everybody. I started watching Andor, the Star Wars TV show. I know I'm super late to the party. I know it's already been over, but very, very good in my opinion. I give it 10 out of 10. Like, I've been trying to talk to him, put him on. We're both huge Star Wars fans, and I'll just keep this short. This is everything that you wanted from Star Wars after we heard that it was going to get sold to Disney and they were going to make some more. Like, this is what you realize Star Wars can be at this point, and it's just amazing. If you haven't seen it yet, go and watch it. It's just really, really good show.
Yep.
So.
Definitely be checking that out at some point. Next, I want to jump into kind of some bad news, at least for the people who aren't current Sony owners. They have announced more price increases.
Yeah.
These are on top of, I think Microsoft did their increase last year. They bumped things up a little bit. Nintendo has yet to do their increase. I'm pretty sure it's coming, especially once they see everybody else is doing it. But just to read some stuff off about this, I have some quotes from Isabel Tomatis, the Vice President of Global Marketing from Sony Interactive. This is via the PlayStation blog. Quote, with continued pressures in the global economic landscape, we made the decision to increase the prices of PS5, PS5 Pro, and the PlayStation Portal remote player globally. End quote. It's a lot of money.
Yeah. I was about to ask, do you have some numbers for us?
Yeah. So the digital non-disc reading console is jumping from $500 to $600. So it's going to be a $100 jump for a console that cannot read discs.
Yeah. Yeah.
The disc reader, which is the one that we have, which we paid far less for when we waited in line for 8 hours for that pre-order.
Yeah.
That's jumping from $550 to $650. And the PS Pro is jumping from $750 to $900. So everyone's getting a $100 jump. The Pro console is getting a $150 jump. And look, I understand how the tariffs work. We know that's a problem. That's where this all started. If you remember Switch 2, we couldn't get we had a pre-order right after the Nintendo Direct, available for pre-order now. And then it all changed, and they delayed things a little bit because they weren't sure what the cost was going to be.
Yeah.
So we went through that.
I think they handled that pretty well with what they ultimately decided. I think they were looking out for gamers a bit, and their choice on that was pretty well handled.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very cool with making consoles a little more a little more reasonable, and then making all the software more expensive.
Yeah.
If I can get a console and have it, and we can already play Switch 1 games on the Switch 2.
Yeah.
So we've got something to bide our time. Everybody's got something in their backlog. So, making the games and the software a little more. But this is this is a huge jump for people. I mean, there are people who, we couldn't even get this console. I mean, we were fortunate enough to get our hands on our copies, but.
Yeah. And just looking at the future, I mean, if this is the old console being $900, are we expecting PS6, which is already, they already patent the 6 name and everything?
Yeah.
What are we looking at for that? Like $1,000?
I think base is probably going to be $1,000. I mean, it's inflation. It's component costs. We know that some of these components, the more, enhanced these components get, the more advanced these components get, the harder they're going to be to get your hands on.
Yeah.
And they use these things in other things that are more important than video games, I would say. So, that's also a problem.
Yeah. One thing I didn't hear you mention, I don't know if you know this. Do you know the PS5 Pro is non-disc reader?
I did not know that.
So $900 for a system that can't read discs.
Yeah, that's crazy. I do have one more quote. Quote, we know that price changes impact our community, and after careful evaluation, we found this was a necessary step to ensure we can continue delivering innovative, high-quality gaming experiences to players worldwide. So me reading that, it's kind of like, hey, we care about you guys, but we don't care about you enough.
Yeah.
We're still going to do what we got to do. We've both worked places where we understand how the business works, and you've got to do things to keep yourself afloat. But if there are $1,000 consoles, like, where do you draw the line? Like, I buy the Switch 2 for $500. I'm a Nintendo guy. I'm paying $500. Yeah. What is that point for consumers where it's like, I'm just not going to be able to do it.
Yeah.
Like, is $1,000, is that the mark?
1,000 just for the console, and then
Yeah.
you can only assume video games are probably going to go up as well, even more.
They'll probably be $80 a game. If Switch 2 games are 70, I guarantee you the next gen PlayStation is going to be 80. And then controller, you need another controller, it's probably going to be $100.
So you're probably looking more towards 1,200, 1,250 after taxes
And to get a
to get a
game,
game, maybe another controller in the console.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely rough.
Dark times for gamers.
Yeah,
maybe.
it's not, and you know, it's and if it's anything like the PS5 fiasco before, it's like they were impossible to get. First, we had, you know, we were last minute trying to scramble to find somewhere to pre-order because of the Walmart situation.
Yep. Third GameStop we went to.
Walmart leaks their pre-orders early, and everything starts going crazy, and then it's like a mad dash. So hopefully they can, if they're raising the price and part of that is due to components, I can only imagine that it's not going to be any easier to get these components, and they're probably not going to be able to mass produce the way that other consoles have in the past.
Yeah, and I'll say one thing just to put at ease of mind. I know we always want the brand new things that come out. You know, we're like that a lot. This is a day one game. But thankfully, there's so many games out there at this point.
Yeah.
Older consoles, even if you go back, you know, to the PS4, some of those graphics still look amazing. So like you can definitely go back, and we're here for all the gamers. So even if there's a game that is you know, a game that released a couple of years ago that you guys want us to, you know, try out and talk about, then sorry, we have a invader there, little kitty cat. You know, we don't mind. Leave that in the comments. I'll check out a game. Like, hey, really want you guys to check out this game. I'll go back because, you know, at some point maybe we don't get the chance to try out some of these new games when it comes $1,000. So, you know.
Yeah. Do you think that this is going to force people to go to other avenues? Like maybe we see more PC gamers because the PlayStation stuff isn't, you know, where it's at anymore. I mean, we've had this conversation before where we don't know how much better games can look.
Yeah.
We're playing games and we're looking at them and it's like, this looks so close to real life.
Yeah.
The graphics can't get any better. And I don't know if they need to get any better.
Nope.
So at what point do consumers kind of say like, hey, you know, this is, and they're phasing things out. Like I seen something the other day, a message from GameStop that said, you know, PS3 and a few other consoles are now considered retro gaming.
Yeah.
Like we're no longer, you know, they're retro gaming. That's just, they're phasing things out. You can no longer go online with certain things. So they kind of force you to do the things you love. But at some point, you know.
Yeah, and I'm eager to see the response from developers who actually love developing games and telling stories. You know, a great example is Sandfall. You know, they left a AAA company, and you know, people argue they're still a AAA because of some of the money that they get, but they gave us one of the best RPGs with Expedition 33 recently. You know, I'm eager to see if maybe people would just come together and start making games in a way where it is more affordable for the consumer and everything. And you kind of see that with movies also. You know, you have YouTubers making movies now for a fraction of the budget that these big companies would make these movies for. And they're some of the greatest films that we've seen in a long time, you know? So
they're filming movies with iPhones now.
Yeah.
So
I think there is a will, there is a way. And I mean, at some point, you know, it's just going to become not affordable for us.
Yeah.
The people like us who just work the regular jobs, who just buy video games to escape from stuff, but we can't keep up with those type of prices.
Yeah. Video games aren't the only thing going up in price.
Yeah.
Everything in the world is getting more expensive.
Put $40 in my gas tank this week.
So it's everything is going up. So it's hard to kind of prioritize gaming when you've got everything else, you know, that you have to take care of.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll keep you guys up on all the latest news, and, you know, there's an avenue that we can find or even recommend some awesome games that you haven't played yet, save you some money, we'll
Yep.
definitely do that for you guys.
Yep.
So, all right, you want to get into the next topic?
Yeah. So let's jump into the consoles.
Yeah.
So again, these are going to be our 5 personal favorites. These aren't based on sales or anything like that. And then, we're going to, once we give our console, we'll give what game we think is the overall best game for that console.
Yep.
And then we'll give our personal favorite after that.
Yep. And even if the overall favorite for that console, maybe we can, try to sway the other love. Like, you think that's the best game or whatnot. I think it'll become more clear as we get into it. But yeah, so you want to go first?
Yeah. So if I were to put this list together tomorrow, it may be a little bit different. I tried my hardest to pick 5.
Yeah, this is a very difficult list, I think.
Yeah. So I think my we'll start at number 5.
Yep.
My number 5 is the PS1.
Okay. All right.
I remember this console coming out. I remember one day I get home from school. Our grandmother's like, "Hey, I got something for you. It's upstairs." And, it was a little bit before my birthday. I go upstairs, PlayStation 1. This was kind of a turning point. It's going to sound crazy now, but graphically, this was a pretty big turning point in games. We're coming from something that looked far less great than what this is.
Can you just inform me, because I'm a bit younger, so I don't have as many memories for the PS1. What was the generation before the PS1?
So the generation before that would have been like the Super Nintendo stuff.
Okay.
A lot of the cartridge consoles and stuff like that. So getting this, and it's like they're CDs. Like what is this? I'm used to popping a cartridge in and going. And I just remember that being like such an amazing console. Like all the games, the Resident Evil it's when Resident Evil started. This is when I found my love for RPGs. I've played a few before on Super Nintendo, but I think this is where I really fell in and like found out that that's like my wheelhouse and the stuff that I loved.
I have an idea for your number 1, but prove me wrong if I am.
So my number 1 and my favorite game are the same. Final Fantasy VII.
Yep.
I think this game sold just over 10 million copies. I remember not even knowing what it was. I was in Target, had some birthday money. A friend of mine's like, "Dude, you got to buy this game. Like, it's supposed to be amazing." I look at it, I'm like, "Man, more than one disc." Like, back then that's what happened. You get a game that's really long. It's like 3, 4, 5 discs.
Yeah.
So I picked it up, got home, started playing, and I mean, this game was like, I'm doing homework on the way home from school so that when I get home, I don't have to waste my time doing homework. So I'm trying to do everything I can to get home. I probably put over 100 hours. This is probably the first time I put over 100 hours into a video game, trying to level up.
So it's safe to say you got the Golden Chocobo? Was that the one
Yes.
that you had to work for?
Yeah. That was a nightmare. That took forever. And then once you get it, you use it for one thing, and it's like whatever. But yeah, so that is my personal favorite and the game that I think was the best. So yeah, that's it. PS1.
So normally, as I said, if I think there's a game better than that I think is the face of that console, I would maybe argue a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of before my time. I'd never had a PS1, didn't play PS1, but I had played the original Final Fantasy VII. And yeah, I mean, I agree full-heartedly. And I can't think of another game from that era that I played that I was like, this is way better. So
yep.
Yeah. My number 5, kind of a recent console, but again, I'm younger. I only have a few that I really remember playing. I probably really delved into video games around the 360 era. I remember my first console given to me was by my brother. It was a Nintendo 64. He was moving out of the house, so that was the first console I got, but, super young at that time, so I don't remember too much. But my number 5 is PS5. I think there are a lot of really good recent games that came out for it. A lot of games that carried over from the PS4 that got enhanced that are for it. And I think it is just, you will get a great experience. The controllers are amazing. The adaptive feeling that you get with the controllers that they do for every other game or whatnot.
The way the trigger feels when you run out of ammo is like insane.
You shoot the gun, it's a little bit harder to squeeze, like
Yep.
because you're firing, the trigger in the real game. It's just an amazing concept. Headset, one of the best. The PS5 Pulse 3D headsets, one of the greatest headsets I've ever used. At this point, there's duct tape on mine, but it's still holding strong. I think, and this might be biased, and I really know you're going to throw another game at me, and I'm here for it, and I'm excited about it, but I really do think Elden Ring is just one of the top contenders for the PS5. There was many games that I thought of. I thought of maybe God of War Ragnarok. That was a contender. Spider-Man Miles Morales, Spider-Man 2. But when Elden Ring came out, I just feel like every YouTuber was playing it.
Yeah.
Everybody was talking about it. You're not even a fan of those games. You ended up with it. You might have sold it a little bit later on. But I just really do think Elden Ring isn't for everybody. I get the difficulty level. I think it's one of the easier ones to kind of gradually get into because it doesn't set you on a linear path the whole time. But I just feel like you get so much out of that game, and they just gave you so much for your money. And I really do think it has the sales, it has the recognitions, it has the award, Game of the Year. And I just think that's the face of PS5. I know you're going to disagree, so let's hear what you think is the best.
I of course would say Spider-Man.
Okay.
That's my personal.
Miles Morales or number 2?
Number 2,
okay.
I think. Even maybe Ragnarok. I haven't played it, but I know what those games are. The Elden Ring thing, I'm not going to argue it shouldn't be there. It earned its spot. You were talking about this game being rumored. First off, all of the Souls games, the fan base is top tier.
Yeah.
They know their stuff. They know their lore. Nobody's halfway in. Everybody's got both feet in the door in these games, and it is like a lifestyle to them. And I respect that as a gamer, that people take things like that so seriously, because I'm the same way. Like I'm really serious, and I die on a lot of battles that most people wouldn't when it comes to certain games. So I definitely appreciate that. But you were talking about this game, just the anticipation of this game. It was almost like a myth at one point.
Yeah.
And it was years of you telling me like, hey man, when this game finally drops, it's going to be the one. Like I'm telling you, and months and months and months and months passed, and we just keep going, and I'm like, this thing's not coming out.
Yeah, I think it was a 5 or 6 year window from the first teaser trailer.
So and then when it finally dropped, I was like, this is like one of those moments in gaming where I bought it for the hype, and it wasn't for me, and I knew it wasn't for me, but I tried to force my way into that and was like, I got to make it happen. Everything about the game is it's beautiful. The battle techniques, I just don't have the patience. Other than that, I mean, I don't have any knocks on the game. I think the bear is what finally did it for me.
Oh
no, it wasn't the bear. It was the small bear was cool, and then like later on, I'm wandering and I'm like, it's a bear. I can take these bears out. I've already taken a bear out, and then you hear it, and then you see it, and you're like, man, this is it. But yeah, I 100% respect that. I have no arguments. It wouldn't have been my personal, but I probably would have picked the same game for top game for that console.
Yeah, and again, I don't fault you for not getting into them. I understand, and my only grievance is that there are certain areas in the game that are just beautiful, and it just breaks my heart as a gamer that he doesn't get to experience those. But I get it. I totally get it. The Rune Bear, I'll be honest, I don't even think I ever defeated a Rune Bear in Elden Ring because they're optional, and I just avoid them. They are doing their own thing, and I let them be. So, but awesome. Number 4.
So my number 4 is the Super Nintendo. This is the first console that I owned on myself. Our uncle had a regular NES. He'd let me play it from time to time. That's where I got all of my first time gaming experience in. The Super Nintendo was just like, it was amazing. The graphical jump from that to that, it was a huge jump. So like, I remember just putting hours and hours and hours. I got it for Christmas one year. This is back when you don't know about this, but this is back when every console came with like the title game. So you buy a Sega Genesis, you're getting Sonic the Hedgehog. When you buy Super Nintendo, you're getting Super Mario World. And that game you could play for hours and hours and hours and never get bored. It's classic side scroller. The game that I think is the best for this console, and there were a few, but just thinking about everyone in the world, and I think everybody's vote that are gamers, is Chrono Trigger. I was very young when I played this game, but this is like the epitome of like what a turn-based RPG is. Like, it's got the story, the characters, the landscapes, everything about it is an amazing game. I know so many people who have played it later on in life, and the graphics don't hold up, and they still love it, and they still rank it pretty high. That is not my personal favorite. My personal favorite is, I've already talked about it, Super Mario World.
Yeah.
Growing up with as many siblings as we had, I wasn't the kid that was getting 4 or 5 games at a time. I got the game that came with the console, and I played through this so many different times over and over again. There's different routes you can take. You'll go through the map and you'll see like a level off to the side, and you're like, how do I get there? And, I couldn't pull out my iPhone and Google these things. I couldn't, do that stuff. So it's like, you really were forced to think of a way to like make it happen. But yeah, I think that's what really got me into liking the side scroller games as well. It was just a very well done game. And yeah, that's my number 4, Super Nintendo.
So funny. I think the same reason for yours with Elden Ring is probably mine for like these side scrollers. I just don't think I can get into them.
Yeah.
And like, I get so confused by like World 7 of 1 or 1 of 7. I'm like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
I have no idea. And you even say like levels that you see off to the side. Like, I thought it was just a side scroller. I have no idea. So not to jump back real quick, but did you have a personal favorite for number 5, the PS5? For my number 5?
Yeah, I brought it up, Spider-Man, but after we got talking a little more, I completely forgot about Ghost of Yotei.
Yeah.
I can't forget that game. I platinumed that game. A lot of people like the original better, but Ghost of Yotei is where it's at. I love that game. I probably put 100 hours in that too.
Yeah. I think without thinking too much about it, I think my personal favorite, because again, Elden Ring I think is the face of the console, but it might also be my personal favorite. So don't go back too far. But I obviously don't have a personal favorite for your number 4 because I don't think I was born yet. So I never played that console.
Yep.
But my number 4, I'm leaning heavy with Sony at this moment, but I have the PS4. So many great games that came out for this. So many good titles. As you said, Ghost of Yotei, Ghost of Tsushima, which was the first one in that franchise. Amazing game, amazing graphics, just as good. But I think the face of this console, and it was hard because you have Last of Us Part 2. You have some of the Nathan Drakes and everything, the Uncharted's. But I really do think I don't hear people ever stop talking about this game, the graphics, how they stand up today, and that's Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yep.
People still compare it to games coming out today that don't look as good as that game. Everybody always talks about the story. I finally delved into it again just this past year, leading into this year, and I can understand the hype. It is an amazing game. And
I just saw Red Dead Redemption 2 Crimson Desert comparison. They were showing fire scenes and rain, and it's like these games are years and years apart, and they're making that comparison.
Yeah. So, Rockstar, they knock it out of the park every time. That's why they can release a game once every 10 years now. But yeah, so do you disagree? Do you have a different game in mind for
Um,
top contender, or
I have not beaten Red Dead Redemption 2. I really do put a lot of respect on the Uncharted games. I haven't played them all, but I would probably have to go with Last of Us.
yeah,
It's hard to not go there.
number 2 though?
Yeah,
Because the
it's
original
yeah,
came
yeah,
out
yeah.
for
On two,
PS3. Yeah,
it's hard to not go there.
yeah, and the only reason is I know there was a lot of diverse fans for like liking it and not liking it. You know, I know a lot of people didn't like the story and how they decided to go. I wasn't one of those people. I thought Last of Us Part 2 was great, but that was my only nudge of giving it to Red Dead. I don't hear anybody talk about such a huge amount of people talk about, oh, I like it, I don't like it.
Yeah.
So that was my only, you know. Do you have a personal favorite for PS4?
Oh man,
It's a lot
It's
of titles. Yep.
I would like to say Last of Us 2. I'd like to keep that kind of the same.
I think you forget about a lot. Like
You
Kingdom
do.
Hearts was a
Yeah.
big one. Ghost of Tsushima was a big one.
Yeah.
Oh man, there was so many.
Yeah. And your personal is?
Yeah, Last of Us was great. Again, I'm biased in a way. Dark Souls 3 was, my number one of most impactful.
Yep.
And, thinking of that, Bloodborne, I think PS4 had a run of just amazing games. So I'm sure there was a few Resident Evils that we're probably forgetting about that was on there. Biohazard.
I think the PS4 is what kind of paved the way for all of the Xbox, Microsoft fans who wanted to jump ship. I think it was that era that really made it like that's kind of what flipped everybody around and was like, all right, this is where we're going.
Yeah. Just sitting here, I'm thinking of more and more games.
Yeah,
God of War Ragnarok, Spider-Man 1.
Yep.
There's too many. I mean, you can take your pick. So, number 3.
My number 3 may not be very popular with a lot of people. I'm going with the Xbox 360.
Okay.
This is when I first experienced online gaming. This is where I played, first time I played Call of Duty. It was a much different animal back then.
Yeah.
A lot more tolerable and fun to play than it is now. But I remember just where my life was with gaming at that point, with everybody in. Like, I had so many friends that were online playing. We would get on there and do our thing. It was just a great console. I mean, you had so many different, the Halos, the Gears of Wars, all the games that really made
this is going to be hard for
Xbox
you to pick a number
what it was.
one. So
so the game that I think is like the game for this console, and I think it's because of sales, I think it's because of popularity and hype, had to be Halo 3.
Okay.
When they bring up the Finish the Fight moniker and the trailer, just the trailer alone, like I don't think like a video game trailer has ever gotten me this pumped to play a game. Like you felt like you were really getting in there and like going to war with these guys. Like they really, really brought you in. Like it was just such a great time in gaming. And my personal favorite, after hyping that up so high, is BioShock. BioShock is just one of those games for me. It missed the list when we did our video for most influential. It is just, that was one of the first games I played where I'm like, man, this scenery is like unlike anything else. Everything about it. It's a little bit creepy. It's beautiful. It's got a lot of things that a lot of games don't kind of mix together. The twist at the end, we won't go into that, but it's just like they set you up and pull you in a million different directions. Great storytelling. So yeah, BioShock is my personal favorite.
Yeah, I mean, I really can't argue with Halo 3. I'm going to hold back just because I will reveal maybe that's on my list somewhere, so I don't want to give up too much. But I will say my personal favorite, thinking about it, now that you were talking about it, I feel like it's probably Assassin's Creed 2.
Yep.
It's just one of those games that I just remember, and I start smiling when I think about how much time I spent in that game, how much of like the start of them making open worlds more complex. They had the first one to go off of. The second one, they just improved on everything, the story, and yeah, it was just amazing. Another shout out to BioShock. I also loved BioShock 1, 2, and 3.
I
Yeah, I can't
think
really argue too much with yours.
you being a kid and like calling me and telling me, talking about these Assassin's Creed games and like how passionate you were about this, like breaking down the storyline and the characters and all this stuff. Yeah, I definitely remember that. Like you were super heavy into that. So
my number 3. I thought you probably would have said. I mean, you already said some Nintendo titles before, but maybe this is on your list. I don't know, but I don't have too much Nintendo on here, but I fondly remember playing this console and just how cool it is, the sounds, the startups, the design of it. Maybe one of the best logos for a console ever, and that's the GameCube.
I knew it was coming.
It was the GameCube, and I think I could be wrong, but I think the Wavebird was like the first.
I was just about to. I was thinking that they broke the mold with it.
Yep, I feel like Nintendo, like them or hate them, they just try to push gaming further and further. I do think they probably fell behind in the graphics department now, but like with just Zelda Tears of the Kingdom recently, the hand design to like mold stuff together and stuff. Yeah. That's something that I've never seen in another video game before. They keep on coming up with original ideas, and I feel like the GameCube was one of those. Like, I played Wind Waker HD remake and everything for the first time, or a little while ago, and that looks just as great as it probably did when it first came out. Like, they make certain games to last, and I think I was still a little bit younger when this came out, but I fondly remember everybody always talking about or playing or getting together with their friends and playing Super Smash Melee. That's what I think is the face of this console. Like, it was just great. You can play it by yourself or you can play it with a bunch of people. Friendships began and ended there. And, I know there's so many other games like Mario Kart. You have a few Zeldas that came out for it. A few Mario games that came out for it. Sunshine is a great one for us, but I think that might be the number one. Correct me if I'm wrong. But.
No, I agree. Anytime, I mean, there are people who buy GameCubes today to play that game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they still make GameCube controllers for current consoles, and I think that's one of the main reasons is to keep that current. And what is your personal favorite for that?
I am a huge fan, and I almost put it as the face, but I knew that was bias coming through. But I love Luigi's Mansion.
Yeah,
I love it. I love the yellow little controller for the vacuum, and it was just a fun game. I love the different ghosts, like the bathtub ghost or the singing ghost.
Yeah,
it was great. And then as a kid, I'm not thinking while I'm playing that. So Bill being behind it all, that makes 100% sense.
Yeah.
And you're looking for your brother, and me being the younger brother, I think it fit me better because I think that's what made me love Luigi probably more than Mario as well. So Luigi's Mansion.
Yeah. I just to touch on what you started off on saying that, Nintendo is a little more on the innovative side, lacking on the graphics. That's something that I tell everyone. The Xbox Kinect missed the mark.
Yeah.
The PlayStation Move, I never really dealt with it much, but they made the Wii.
Yeah.
It was almost flawless in its design. They are willing to sacrifice. Do they have all the gory games? Are you going to be able to play those types of games? No. People consider it a kid console, but they really do step up where they need to. I mean, we had a 3D handheld console that you didn't need to wear glasses for.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would have to say that my personal favorite for that console.
You had Wind Waker, you had Twilight Princess.
And as much as I'm going to say Wind Waker.
Pikmin.
But as much as I really, really wanted to pick Resident Evil 4.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
It's how did we get first dibs on this over here? How did this happen? How did such an iconic one of the best Resident Evil games. How did we get
Yeah.
dibs on it over here first?
And I feel like Resident Evil 4 was the first game to also do like the red dot too, right?
yeah,
Yeah, so
pretty
that was
sure.
like,
Yeah,
I'm sure everybody followed suit after that too. And
yep.
oh man, yeah, such a weird game to be like one of the best on that console.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it was amazing. All right, number 2.
Number 2, my 1 and 2, I switched them 3 or 4 times in my mind. And as much of a Nintendo guy as I am, and I really think this is probably my number 1, I have it at number 2, Nintendo 64. This console changed gaming. Nobody, when I was a kid, nobody walks around with just one friend. Nobody wants to play 2-player co-op. We're giving you the option and the port to have 4 controllers. My PlayStation, you could play four players. You had to buy an extra output to connect in. There were very little game you could use. It wasn't super like easy to function. It's like, I remember us going to school with our controllers in our backpack, stopping off at a friend's house on the way home, playing, all the wrestling games. Everyone's playing at once. Smash Brothers, absolute craziness.
So was it Nintendo with the 64, and was it PlayStation with the PS1 at the time? And then I don't even think Xbox really came out yet.
Xbox didn't come out until the next generation. So yeah, it was just them two at that point. But yeah, I mean,
maybe Game
it was
Boy
just
Advance
amazing. Yeah, it was just epic being able to just have that. I remember everybody had the N64. Everything went on hold for gaming when the N64 came out. GoldenEye. I mean, It didn't get any better than that. Getting together with some friends, playing Golden Gun. Everyone's racing to get the one-shot kill Golden Gun and shooting, trying to win the match.
Now, I know money was a little tough for us back then, but did you have a favorite color? Because I know the colors were crazy with that.
So the problem with me is they always come out with these cool variants, and I've already got the console.
Yeah.
And I can't just go buy more consoles as much as I'd like to. So there was a green one that came out that I really, really wanted. Never got it. I had the black one the whole time. But they made it easy because you could buy any color controller you wanted.
Yeah.
So we kind of switched it up like that.
Was it black or was it gray?
It was black.
Black?
Yep, it was black. This is another one of those ones on the list where the number 1 game is my personal favorite game, and it's Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. This is one of the top stories in gaming. This is one of the top characters in gaming. Soundtracks, the side quests, the world. This is probably one of my first trips into what is kind of like an open world game. Just the characters, meeting the Gorons, seeing them differently than you've seen them before. I don't think I've had as much fun playing this game as any other game on the N64. I got trapped into this game, and it was just a blast. From the beginning to the end, I would play. If I wasn't so backed up in the backlog right now with games, I would have no problem playing this again.
And just to touch on that, so you're saying you saw stuff that you never saw before. Were you a fan of the Zeldas before this?
Yeah, but it was just so different. I mean, a lot of those games like that, the overhead dungeon crawler type games, they're all basically the same game with different sprites, different characters. You're kind of doing the same thing. I enjoyed it. I had fun, but it had a whole different identity once this happened. Yeah, I mean, N64 kind of took it there with a lot of games. Mario 64 was another one. There was
that Double Dash was on the GameCube, right?
Yep.
But this still had a Mario.
They had Mario Kart 64, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So, and that was cool too. I mean, but yeah, there was just so many games that came out that were great for this console.
And you were your own repair person because if the game didn't work, you just
hey,
blow in the cartridge and you're good.
You're a pro. You become a pro at that stuff.
And I can actually speak on this console because, as I said, when he moved out of the house that we were staying in, he actually gave me Nintendo 64. I never even talked to you about that. Was that just something that you couldn't take with you, or you just wanted me to get into gaming
No, I
more?
just wanted to make sure I know you played it a lot while I was there, and I just didn't want to be like, hey, like I was working at the time, making my own money now, so it was easy for me to just be like, hey, just take this.
Oh, I
I know you
appreciate
played
that.
it, stuff like that. Just pass it off. Um,
I can't tell you where it is today because I
well,
don't have it anymore, so I don't even know what I did with it. Uh, but personal favorite, a game that you left me with, which is probably questionable now that I look at it, why somebody's leaving a child this game. But Conker's Bad Fur Day was probably the game that I remember playing the most on this, and it is crazy. It is like the humor in it was so crazy.
it's South Park
Uh,
before.
yeah, basically, yeah, and I can't even describe some of the things because obviously, we'll probably post this to YouTube, and I don't know what their guidelines are, but some of the stuff in that game was just wild. But I loved it
I
so
was
much.
definitely expecting a call from mom on that one, wondering what I'm
Yeah,
leaving in the house for the child.
yeah. Oh, such good memories though. Oh, my number two again, Sony heavy here. Uh, but I has had so many fond memories, so many great games, and that's the PS2. Uh, Again, so many games I could go on forever and ever, but I'm just going to get to the straight number one that I think for this console that they remade and remade and remade probably 4 or 5 times. And I bought the first two until I realized they're not really making it too much better, and that is Final Fantasy X.
Yep.
I think again, I think RPGs aren't for everybody. I don't think the Final Fantasy franchise is for everybody. But I also feel like I didn't look this up, but I think it's one of the highest selling games for PS2.
Yep.
And
Well, it might be second.
yeah, I mean, there's a few Grand Theft Autos and
Yeah.
stuff, um, but yeah, I think that is number one. You can even have Kingdom Hearts if you think Kingdom Hearts, but Final Fantasy X was just amazing. Every single character, the music, the story, the twist ending at the end was insane. Even the side stuff in there, the sports game that you get to play, Blitzball,
Blitzball, yep.
amazing. So that's mine. And to this day, they might have one of the best leveling up systems, the Sphere Grid. Like, if you've never played that game, I think they probably remade it again for PS4. So you can probably snag it for cheap, probably $20 or less. Try it out. Sphere Grid's amazing. And yeah, that's my number two, and what I think is number one and number two. So do you agree? Disagree?
I'm actually gonna just use this as my segue into my number one pick
Okay.
because my number one pick is the PS2.
All right.
Again, as someone who plays RPGs, this game had so many. I never got to beat them all before the next console came out. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot that I left in that era on that console that I have never beaten. Unfortunately, it was just amazing. I mean, it was probably we have yet to see what the Switch 2 does, but I feel like this is the biggest upgrade from one console generation to
Yeah.
the next.
Yep.
The PS1 was amazing. It made this list. The PS2 was such a huge jump from there. The game that I'm going to say is the number one game for this console, not my personal opinion, is Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. This
Okay.
game had the
Yeah.
world like stuck on it. There were so many people quoting the game, the characters everyone loved. It was a different
Yeah.
spin on what you're used to seeing from Grand Theft Auto. And I believe it might be the number one selling game on this console. I'm not sure of the numbers directly, but yeah, that was one of the games that when I think about my
Yeah.
personal favorite is the game that you thought was the best game for the console, Final Fantasy X.
Yeah.
It was the first time you're seeing these Final Fantasy games that you love. I've gone from playing them as 8-bit sprites, overhead view, to Final Fantasy VII, which is a little more in depth, and then I finally get to see them look more like real people.
Number 10, that opening alone.
Yeah.
Insane.
Anytime you put water in a game, it's a main focal point. Everyone wants to see what the water looks like.
Yeah.
So they're looking, and that game did a great job. I mean, if I look back at it now, I'd probably have some questions or something, but it really did take the Final Fantasy franchise in a different direction, and they really they haven't missed since then. I mean, there's been a few in between, but that really kicked things off for everybody.
Yeah, and I know I didn't say it, but my personal favorite probably also is Final Fantasy X. Really like the Kingdom Hearts, God of War. I remember playing Jack and Dexter. I love those. But yeah, Final Fantasy X just hits home for us. I think we're Final Fantasy lovers through and through.
Yep.
Can't really argue San Andreas. I think I can't remember if I thought about that or not, but maybe I overlooked it a little bit. But yeah, and that was one of the games that Mom disagreed on, because when I went to go buy San Andreas, I needed my mom to buy it for me, and the cashier at Target at the time was letting her know everything that was involved in that game. So I think I can't even remember if I got it or what, but yeah, it definitely took the world by storm. So, all right, so that was your number one, PS2. Yep. My number one, you've already said, and I do think it's just probably my favorite console of all time, and that's the Xbox 360. Again, this is for me, the Xbox 360 is probably your PS1 or something around there age-wise. Like, I remember this coming out, and it was just amazing. So many good games. Halo 3, Gears, BioShock, Call of Duty's coming out for the first time. It felt like it was a hit after a hit after a hit. The Assassin's Creeds. I have the number one game being Modern Warfare. And I just think that's just because anybody could get into it at the time. Even if you didn't think you liked multiplayer games, I think that got a whole generation onto multiplayer games. And not even that, standalone, because I did think about Halo 3 a lot, but Halo 3 you would have had to play the other two. Standalone, Modern Warfare had one of the best single player campaigns as well. Right. So you had a great campaign, great multiplayer. Halo 3, I love the ending of everything, but you are a little bit lost if you haven't played the other ones, which I don't think necessarily hurts it at being a number one, but that's just kind of what I put there. And it's my personal favorite number one. I've already mentioned a few times on previous episodes about, just the fond memories of getting it and playing it with everybody and really coming into my own on that game. And, raced home, didn't do my homework, raced home and just immediately went to Modern Warfare. So number one for me.
Good stuff. All right. Well, that's our top five. If you guys want to put anything in the comments or disagree or pick on our list a little bit for putting all this stuff, feel free to do that as well.
Yeah. Or put your top five in the comments.
For real. Yeah, definitely. Next up, you have a game lined up, right? I know nothing about this.
So I have a game. I don't really have a title for this game. I saw IGN post something that was like 10 out of 10 story and 10 out of 10 gameplay. So I figured that would make a pretty good game. I added a few of my 10 out of 10s on here. And basically, I am going to say a 10 out of 10 for you. I'll give you the first one, for example. 10 out of 10 story. I need you to pick a game that you think is a 10 out of 10 story, the best of the best, the top. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different categories that I'm going to go through for 10 out of 10s in certain video game related categories.
All right.
So you have a 10 out of 10 story game for us, the viewers.
This one's easy. Last of Us 1. It doesn't get better than that. I was so locked into that game. I felt like I was there with them. It doesn't happen often, but that game really pulled you in. Like the story from the very opening scene to the very closing scene, 10 out of 10.
Yep. Yeah, and the remake looks, if you don't think that they could have done the original any better, I played the remake for PS5 and it is just the same story. It just looks way more better. So,
yep.
And I'll make this a little bit more interesting on you. I'll say you can't reuse a game.
Okay.
All right. So now we have 10 out of 10 graphics. What game has 10 out of 10 graphics?
Oh, man.
One immediately comes to my mind, but I'll save it.
Oh, there's a few that I can think of. I'm going with Ghost of Yotei.
Yeah.
I got to. I mean, there are times where I've stopped in fields just to watch the flowers and the grass move because I can't believe that they've nailed it down like that.
Yep. Yep. I was thinking that or the first one, Ghost of Tsushima, for graphics. They
Yep.
both had amazing graphics. Yeah, I think, but we've said it numerous times. Everything that they did in the first one, they just did way better in the second one.
Yep.
So, all right, graphics. 10 out of 10 gameplay. So, gameplay mechanics, what you thought was just, wow, the gameplay in this is very, very smooth. I know gameplay can get a little muddled, but that's what I'm considering gameplay. I also have one that comes to mind.
Well, it's definitely not Red Dead Redemption 2. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I've walked in many a wall in that game.
Yeah.
Gameplay.
We love Rockstar, but we both talk about all the time where it is a little silly how stiff.
It's kind of like Gears, you know.
Yeah.
You move like you're a gigantic musclehead in that game, and that's exactly what you are.
Yeah, yeah. So
I'm going to go with gameplay. I'm going to go with Spider-Man Miles Morales.
All right. I had Spider-Man. You could have picked any of them. I was thinking Spider-Man 1, but
if you haven't played these games, the web slinging alone, you get lost doing that.
Yeah.
It's the equivalent of people who play GTA and never do a mission because they're too busy doing delinquent things.
Yeah, yeah. And then once you get so OP in the game, like you weren't OP at the beginning already,
Yeah.
you know, you get all these gadgets that you unlock. You're like, oh, let me take care of this crime real quick in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't even have to touch the ground anymore. I'm so good at this.
Yep. All right. I like this one. 10 out of 10 soundtrack.
Kingdom Hearts. Hands down. I don't need to think about it. They make songs for these games that you could play on the radio.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've never heard anybody say a bad thing about those soundtracks.
Yeah, simple and clean.
Simple
I think that might have been my ringtone for a while.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, and every game that drops, there's a new one, and they never miss.
Sanctuary for the second one.
Yeah, so that's a simple one.
All right. I thought you were going to pull a Final Fantasy out of there.
I couldn't do it.
I mean, it's the closest thing to Final Fantasy.
I've snubbed Kingdom Hearts too many times today.
Yeah.
I've had too many opportunities. I wasn't going to pass it up again.
Yeah. Well, this one, you know, you can think about characters.
I want to say this is
10
easy.
out of 10. So, like, there has to be a 0, you know, trash character in this game.
Well, you know how I am with 10 out of 10s. Me personally, I believe nothing is a 10 out of 10. Anything can be improved upon. But for the sake of the game, I am going to go with
can't be used either. So
I got 2 in mind. What do I have on the list so far again?
You have story, Last of Us 1, graphics, Ghost of Yote, gameplay, Miles Morales, and soundtrack, Kingdom Hearts.
So I really want to save one of these. I have an unpopular one, and I have one that I know I need to use later. I'll just make it interesting. I'm going to burn it now. Final Fantasy VII.
Okay.
All-Star Cast. I really didn't want to burn that one now because that one I could probably put into any single category. But just to make it interesting later and not have that cheat code later, I'll burn it.
And to be fair, trying to think of, you know, name a bad character for Final Fantasy. So I can't do it. Yep. I think you won on that one. All right. Well, this would have been also easy, but villains for a franchise. So you could have picked Final Fantasy, but you would have had to have picked every Final Fantasy. There's no miss villain. Yeah. So maybe if you want to do at least 2 games. So a franchise, I'm considering at least 2 games. The villain from each one is amazing.
The main villain or the villains in general?
We can say main villains.
Okay.
The mob villains don't.
I'm just trying to figure it out because a lot of times games have different villains as you go. You know, you off them in the first one, they're not around in the second one.
Yeah, it makes it a little bit more difficult because now you need 2, you know, pretty good villains.
Man,
I can think of a. At least one franchise, maybe.
And you're talking about games that keep the main villain through all the games. It's the same main villain through all 3 games. Or if it's 2 games in the franchise and they have 2 different villains, but I think both of them are bad.
Both of them are good.
I mean good as villains.
Yeah. So, for instance, Assassin's Creed. You need Assassin's Creed 1's villain to be just as good as Assassin's Creed 2, but they're totally separate games. So that's why Final Fantasies, you would need all 20,000 of them to have good villains. So if you're, good, you might want to just stick with maybe a franchise with 2 or 3 games just to really hedge your bets. And this is all for the viewers. So
this is going to be a home pick,
all right.
And it's iconic. It's got to be Mario.
Okay, yeah.
Bowser he's the first villain I've ever known, I think, in gaming.
Yeah. And I'm sure if people do their deep dives, they could probably come up with a bad villain. But this was one of the harder ones. Yeah. I was thinking maybe BioShock.
Yeah.
I mean, all 3. I think the first game you had the Big Daddies and Would You Kindly
Andrew
Ryan. And then the second game was the Big Sisters.
Yep.
So you had some pretty good hits there. There was another one in mind, but I forgot.
I could have said Zelda. I mean,
Zelda was also
Ganon's been a pain in the ass too.
Yep. In every game, it's the same villain, but he's just different forms.
Right.
All right. I think that was the hardest one yet so far. Multiplayer game. A 10 out of 10 best multiplayer game.
Man, I can look at this from so many different ways.
And it's a little difficult because technically, Call of Duties are single player, but
that was my question. Is it multiplayer online or multiplayer couch co-op? Is it all lumped in?
Well, I'll say stick to pure multiplayer. So we have our Overwatches, our Mario Karts, so you could play those single if you wanted, kind of, but general rule of thumb, those are multiplayer games. The Call of Duties, I'll say stay away from them because they have single player campaigns.
Yeah.
So.
Oh man, it's very hard not to pick Mario Kart with this.
Well, it's easier because you already used Mario for a different franchise. So there you go. That eliminates it.
All right.
I mean, it's just 10 out of 10 to you.
Yeah. Look, I don't feel this way about this game currently, but at inception, when this game first came out and we all fell into it and we all kind of bought the hype and we got absorbed into this game, Destiny.
Yep, there it is.
I don't remember, and I'll say this a million times, no matter what the game is, I don't ever remember having that much fun as a group of friends playing an online game or a multiplayer game, trying to get the daily, trying to get the weekly, running through these raids, trying to learn this raid where it's the first time that you ever felt real validation in a game like that, because we weren't, hey, let's get on Friday and run this raid. We weren't running the raid. We were learning the patterns of the first part of the raid.
Yeah.
And then the next night we would go back and try to do a little bit more. And it was taking us weeks. And then, of course, we get to the point where it's like, hey, hurry up. We're going to run through this vault in 30 minutes and get it all done. So that one was actually a little easier than I thought, now that I think about it. Destiny was.
Yep. And we're on 2 sides of the table here because you'll be somebody like me who does the raid 20 times and never gets the Gjallarhorn. Or you'll be somebody like him who gets it in the first try. So,
good times.
Yeah, Destiny was a great one. Even also is looking for Zoro every week.
Yeah.
They were like, where's he at? Where's he at in the
trying
tower?
To find him, yeah.
Yeah, he was great. All right, Destiny, a 10 out of 10 open world game.
Man, I can go a couple places here. I know where I'm going to go. But I'm going Breath of the Wild.
Zelda, yeah.
I didn't think Nintendo, again, not to keep bringing it up, but as a super huge Nintendo fan, I didn't think they had this in them.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to stick to closed-in 3D, games, slightly open world. I had no idea they were going to when they first announced this, I didn't think that that's what it was going to be. And when it finally dropped, it's like, I'm a little disappointed in like the differences between that and
Tears of the Kingdom.
Tears of the Kingdom. I feel like there should have been more of a, a difference gap, but that's an easy one for me. I mean, the GTAs, I'm 50-50 on that stuff. They're pretty open world. The Red Dead Redemption 2 is cool. Breath of the Wild is like, it's definitely up there. That's definitely got to be the one.
Yeah, and again, there can be multiple. I think Red Dead Redemption 2, open world wise, is also 10 out of 10. So you could have went there. Zelda, again, there's so many things that they did in that game that they didn't even have to do. From the cooking mechanics to what you can chop down to setting grass on fire to make wind blow up, like so many in-depth things that they thought of. And great.
I will give the honorable mention to Red Dead Redemption 2. There's nothing like wandering through this game and just stumbling across some of the wildest stuff.
Yeah.
That again, they didn't have to put in the game. You're stumbling around, you hear somebody yelling, and it's somebody hiding in the bushes. They need you to help them break out of handcuffs.
Yeah.
Or someone's tied up in someone's basement. They're calling you down. You got to help them out. Like, it really is like things like that make these games unforgettable. Like wandering around, and it's not just like, hey, a bad guy's jumping out of the woods, you got to kill him. It's miniature story-based plots that are being dropped on you out of nowhere.
And rewarding too. You help a guy who got bit by a snake, and then you see him in town later on. He's like, "Hey, you're the guy. I got a free gun that you can get or something." Honorable mention, but Zelda was your pick. All right, last one. You already took out a few franchises here, but I have some in mind for this, and this is a 10 out of 10 weapons in a game. So there's not a single bad weapon in this game that you're about to pick.
Oh man, let me think.
You still have some top contenders left, so
I know where I want to go. I just got to think and make sure there's nothing that I'd rather say. Oh,
I can think of at least two.
I'm going with this just for, I have an honorable mention lined up, but I'm going to go with this just based on originality. And I'm going to go with Gears of War.
Okay.
Nothing's better than running around, even if you're playing online multiplayer, and hearing that chainsaw go. You know something's about to happen. Yeah. People aren't just popping off these Lancer chainsaw guns for no reason, like the Hammer of Dawn. You can take out a small village with that thing.
Yeah,
like
the torque bow when you hear that.
Yeah, the torque bow. Yeah, that is, and the amount of fun we had playing that game is like bar none.
Yeah.
My honorable mention is Halo.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Hearing that plasma sword fire up.
You said
the Needler.
Yeah.
I mean, just great innovative guns. I mean,
even if you want to consider vehicles as weapons, the Ghost, the Warthogs, the giant spider.
That's a really good category, because I'm even thinking like Dead Space. Dead Space had some wild ones. Yeah. Half-Life 2. We've got a gravity gun. Yep. I can pick up a rock and shoot it at someone at a high velocity. Like,
I know an iconic weapon. I don't know if it's every weapon, but even with the Assassin's Creed, the Hidden Blade.
Yep, that's a good one.
Great one.
I've seen that in a lot of people's top 10 lists. Like,
to be fair, you probably could have put any Star Wars on there also, because who doesn't want a lightsaber?
Yeah, lightsaber as well.
Yeah, so that was awesome. Yeah, fun little game. Like I said, just saw it IGN, so figured I'd give it a whirl.
Yep.
Yeah, great picks.
All right, awesome. So that's everything we got for this week. Stay tuned, like, comment, subscribe. Catch you guys on the next one.